Hi, Aftab. It's great to be here with you today. We're going to have this conversation for our viewers to learn a little bit about who you are, your background. So you are one of our directors in Leading360, and we've been working together for a number of years already. But who is Aftab?
Okay, well, my background is in engineering and data analysis. I then went on a number of years afterwards to pursue a doctorate in marketing and entrepreneurship, and this led to consultancy in evaluating brand equity of many fast-moving consumer goods. And I developed my own series of metrics and proprietary instrument to evaluate brand effectiveness of key products and evaluate their sustainability and their competitive advantage. This eventually led me to coming back to academia and focusing on executive training, both at the MBA level and supervising managers and senior executives at doctoral level. And I've supervised, I think, over 35 doctoral completions for many, many international companies globally. And at the same time, I used that opportunity to undertake a number of consultancy projects. A lot of the consultancy projects were in the banking sector, where I looked at corporate social responsibility and corporate governance. I looked at the automotive industry, looking at branding, and I looked at the luxury goods market, looking at how we could ensure that there was the correct perception of the products that would lead to ultimate purchase. And these are just some of the projects that I've worked in the past. The most recent projects that I've been working on are to do with organizational culture and leadership and performance, and developing a circular economy solution for pretty much every company.
I want to talk a little bit about circular economy. I'm going to leave that towards the end. Just bring you back to brand performance or corporate brand and brand reputation. How do you think we can help organizations?
Well, on a number of ways. We have our own, as I said, proprietary instrument that we can utilize to evaluate consumer perceptions of a company's product in relation to their competitors. And through the data collected, we can create our own very sophisticated models to allow organizations to understand where they need to target their resources to gain the competitive edge and ensure that they achieve the sales and growth and performance that they aspire, and the perception that they would like to align with their organizational goals.
Okay, that will be leading to better performance, financial performance, employee retention, satisfaction, customer satisfaction. That could trigger a number of different efficiencies within the organization, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we have another tool that, that's looking at what I talked about previously, was actually looking at the product. But if an organization is looking to increase its employee retention and loyalty and increase productivity, well, then I have a separate instrument for that, and that's looking at organizational cultural performance. And this is an instrument we've tested throughout the UK on a number of organizations, where we've identified what are the key areas that organizations need to focus on if they wish to achieve greater staff morale, greater productivity, and increased sustainable growth.
So we've been targeting different sectors, and one of them, of course, you talk about banking, but one of them is also higher education, isn't it? Can you talk a little bit about that, higher education?
Absolutely. Over the last 2 decades, while working in higher education, I've developed a number of instruments to evaluate the student experience. And I was very fortunate over a decade ago to be commissioned by the Higher Education Academy to analyse the complete NSS, the National Student Survey data set. And that had millions of bits of data. And through my complex mathematical analysis, I was able to develop a hierarchical order to enable specific universities by mission group and by to then target specific courses to enable those key strategic decision makers to target their resources to ensure they not only achieved high student satisfaction rates, but also greater retention and perception of the university at the end of it.
Because it's as many of the different sectors, the higher education sector is just turning upside down now, isn't it? It's being challenged by all sorts of disruptive technologies, processes, practices, being challenged now. And I tend to say that you can't solve 21st century problems with 18th century solutions.
Yeah.
And higher education seems to be the last one still holding on to the past. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Well, since the deregulation of higher education in many countries, the higher education has become incredibly more competitive. And since the advent of the internet and massive operation online courses, these are major competitive scenarios for higher education institutes, and they have been major disruptive influences. And so what I've been doing is, over the last 5 years, I've actually developed a proprietary instrument to evaluate student engagement, student performance, and student loyalty to a university. And this instrument, unlike the previous National Student Survey, National Student Engagement Service, is radically different, and it uses a whole new series of metrics. And it pretty much turns its head on what is currently the notion of the perceived notion of what is important to student learning. And what this tool does, it provides leaders with a unique insight into what will actually enhance student learning, and not only that, their academic performance and their continued loyalty to be representative ambassadors for the university long after graduation.
Excellent. So let's move on from there to talk a little bit about your international experience. You have worked in different countries, right?
Yes, I've worked in the Southeast Pacific, in North America, I've worked in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and obviously England. So I have a far outreaching
global man.
footprint. But yeah, and I've been very fortunate to work on an eclectic mix of projects. In Africa, I looked at mainly banking. In Europe, it was looking a lot in the automotive industry. And in the Far East, I looked at luxury goods and the higher education sector.